Hello everyone, I'm Brian. Today I'm reacting to ba Bhagavad Gita made easy. I know that's wrong. Bhagavad Gita. I'm not used to saying it that way. Bhagavad Gita made easy, part 1 of 3. Oh my gosh. I've heard it said many times, but I don't know why the formation of my lips or vocal cords just can't quite form that word right. Bhagavad Gita. Oh, good lord. Anyways, so this is something I think I do have a book, I'm sorry, a audio book on this. I haven't started it yet because I'm trying to finish up Sadhguru's book. But I guess this is a way to get introduced to it. So let's go ahead and get started.
The Bhagavad Gita is seen as the flagship scripture for Hindus. In just 700 verses, we find a neat blending together of the profoundest wisdom and various philosophies within Hinduism.
By the way, link of the videos will be in the description, unless I happen to mass update the description, which then I apologize, but at least the name of this video, generally you can search and find it. Dharma, Avatar, Bhakti Yoga, Karma Yoga, Vedanta, Dhyana, Sankhya, Yana. Wait, Dhyana, Karma, Bhakti, Yana, and Raja. Why is Raja? Raja is supposed to be meditation, but I don't know if I said that right. Dhyana, Vedanta, strange, Sankhya, Dharma.
But unfortunately, many Hindus, despite knowing about the Gita, are completely unaware of its contents, often not motivated or perhaps feeling incapable of understanding what is being said. This short 3-part series aims to present the key concepts that Krishna explains in the most accessible and comprehensible way. To begin with, let us understand the place of the Gita within Hindu scripture as a whole. The Vedas are seen in principle as the highest authority and have been divided into the Rig, Sama, Yajur and Atharva. Each of the Vedas can loosely be divided further into 2 general sections. One is the Karma Kanda, which is made of hymns and instructions centered around the Vedic ritual known as the Yajna. This is where the different gods of nature such as Indra, Agni and Soma are worshipped to achieve different goals. The other section of the Veda is the Jnana Kanda. This is primarily based on texts known as the Upanishads, and here we find various teachings and truths outlining the metaphysical relationship between Atman, the Self, and Brahman, the Supreme Reality. The Vedas were divided up by sage Vyasa, who also composed the great work known as the Mahabharata, which is an embellished record of historical events that took place some 5,000 years ago. Comprising more than 100,000 verses, the Mahabharata describes the conflict between 2 sets of cousins, the 5 righteous Pandavas, of which Arjuna is one, and the arrogant deceitful Kaurava brothers headed by Duryodhana. The feud climaxes on the Kurukshetra battlefield, where all the kings in the land are ready to start the greatest war the world has seen. The Bhagavad Gita picks up the narrative from here. The Gita contains 18 chapters and is best seen as being divided into thirds. The first third primarily focuses on an extended explanation of Karma Yoga and how this can bring one to true knowledge of our essential nature. The middle third brings a
Karma Yoga and Jnana, actions and knowledge. Because karma, in my understanding, is action, whether it be thought and physical action, actual movement with the hands, feet, whatever. Jnana is knowledge, what you learn. Oh, okay,
dramatic shift, where Krishna explains his true form as the Supreme Lord. He reveals the beauty of devotion before showing his ultimate cosmic form to Arjuna. The final third is a further grounding discourse on various topics such as the philosophy of Sankhya, the 3 qualities that govern creation, and the relationship between Atman and the Supreme Being.
Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, and Raja Yoga. But why is Raja not on there? Why is Sankhya philosophy? And that's something also that he did not list on the last one. Although meditation was listed there, but it was different. Is Dhyana, if I'm even pronouncing that correctly. Gunas.
Chapter 1 begins with Dhritarashtra, the blind king, who is the father of the Kauravas, anxiously asking Sanjaya, his charioteer, what is happening on the battlefield. Sanjaya, with his gift of mystic sight, narrates how the two armies are bracing for battle. With Krishna as his charioteer, Arjuna scans the enemy ranks. He sees his cousins, grandfather, teacher and friends. Suddenly he is overcome with emotion. The prospect of slaying those whom he has loved and served his entire life brings him to a point of collapse. He is overcome with sympathy and confused about what is the right course of action. Alas, alas, we are bent on performing a most sinful deed by slaying our family members due to our greed for the pleasure of sovereignty. If the sons of Dhritarashtra, weapons in hand, were to slay me in battle unresisting and unarmed, that would be better for me. Krishna keeps silent for the whole chapter while Arjuna spills out his thoughts. Eventually, from emotional exhaustion, Arjuna surrenders to him in helplessness. Krishna now leaves behind the guise of a charioteer and friend and assumes the role of a spiritual master. Immediately, he draws Arjuna out of his emotional indulgence and into a grander vision of reality, explaining that the real truth to be known is that we are the Atman, the divine self. This self is eternal, untouched by the physical elements, aloof from this material existence. It is never born and it never dies. It is existing now and it will never cease to exist. It is unborn, eternal, everlasting and most ancient. It is not killed when the body is killed.
Okay, so let me go back a little bit. So it is never Atman, it's never born and it never dies. It exists now and it will never cease to exist. It's unborn, eternal, everlasting, most ancient. It's not killed when the body is killed. So this, I remember in another video where we've asked your karma, that the thing that is passed down from life form to life form, your karma, basically, and how you continue to reincarnate in this life because of your karma that you built up. And I've asked, like, well, what happened prior to before the first species or first life form, even if you talk about microscopic life. To me now, I may have a better way of explaining it after this, even though, yes, probably. I don't think I ever thought about it then, except for now. And that being the fact that what he says here makes it, I guess, an easier way to explain and how I would understand it now. So basically, everything created in the universe will have a clean karma in a sense. The very, very first, again, this is my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, but the very first species, when it dies, should it not get should it not be how do I say, released from this life, and it continues to the next life, it will continue its rebirth until it's released. And then if another thing's created, another life, then it also gets a blank slate of karma, and then as it lives life, I assume that it gains karma. And again, it'll continue to be reborn and born and born until it's released from life. So this will, in my opinion, can explain the fact that, you either come with a clean slate karma, or you have your baggage karma from previous life. So this makes perfect sense in my mind. It makes logical sense that, people are constantly being reborn here, are the ones who have lived past lives and has yet to be released. And yet, if there's no other karma out there, or anyone being reborn, but there's a new baby or life out there, then it has a kind of a clean slate karma, in which at that point it gets a chance to be released or be reborn. As far as I know, it seems to make sense. But let's go ahead and continue. I mean, I guess that's the whole point of the fact that Brahman and Maya, the fact this illusion, a whole bunch of illusions are being created in this life, and the illusion that we are separate from the Atman is, it's kind of one of those things that you have to realize that you are the Atman to be released into, Atman or Brahman.
Everlasting and most ancient, it is not killed when the body is killed. Whether in childhood or old age, the Atman is unchanging. Just as we change clothes every day, the Atman too sheds and adorns new bodies. Every life is just one story in the Atman's journey. Arjuna is being made aware that beyond the body and mind there is a deeper reality, which is who we truly are. Krishna describes this philosophy of identifying with the Atman as Sankhya, which means an analysis. By analysing reality, we can come to the conclusion that there is the world, which is made up of physical elements, but distinct from this, there is the eternal divine Atman. While stressing this higher knowledge, Krishna also points out practical guidance. Fundamentally, Arjuna is a Kshatriya or warrior. His role in society is to stand...
Sorry, hold on. Kshatriya? Okay. K was silent. I want to hear how you pronounce that. Kshatriya.
Fundamentally, Arjuna is a Kshatriya or warrior. His role in society is to stand and protect righteousness. His dharma or duty, therefore, is not to run away from his responsibility, but to rise and meet the need of the situation. Having described the nature of the Atman and the importance of one's dharma, Krishna criticizes those who do not think of higher ideals, but only on the materialistic and ritualistic part of the Vedic practice. The point Krishna makes is that those who use religion to enjoy pleasures in the afterlife lack wisdom. Life in spiritual pursuit should be used to transcend material pleasures, not to revel in it in another life. Detachment as well as the performance of one's righteous duty provides the foundation for one of the most important ideas in the whole Gita, Karma Yoga. You only have a right to the action itself and never to the fruits of that action. Do not make the rewards of action your motive, and do not develop any attachment for avoiding action.
You only have a right to the action itself and never to... Ooh, that's nice. That's the way I see this is, from what I heard in my world religion class with Buddhism, is basically give it 110%, or actually, yeah, give it 110%, but expect nothing from it. Give it your all, but expect nothing from it. Do not make the rewards of actions your motive, and do not develop any attachments for avoiding actions. Develop any attachments for avoiding... Oh, that's that last part I've not heard. So do not make the reward the action of your motive. Because if you end up getting disappointed with your actions, you end up getting, well, disappointed, obviously. If the results of your reward is not good, you'll be disappointed and you would not want to do it again. And that'll be the entire basis of your actions. Do not develop any attachments for avoiding actions. Now that I've never heard. Do not develop any attachments for avoiding actions. Do not develop any attachments for avoiding actions. I've never ever heard that. Ever heard that in my life. I've heard other things before in many different ways. It's in movies and books and motivational speaks, but that last part, that is completely new to me. Definitely would like to hear more about that last part.
This is the essence of Karma Yoga, that we should act in the world without attachment to the results of those actions. This requires one to master the senses. Like a tortoise that withdraws its limbs, we need to withdraw our attention away from the outside world. Krishna points out that it is desire that entraps our consciousness, carrying our mind away, like the wind that carries a boat on the ocean. We have to remove this sense of I and mine, and thereby center ourselves within. But going within doesn't mean giving up on acting in the world. Krishna explains that action is life itself. We cannot escape it. Even to maintain our body, we need to act. Our very breathing is action. Karma Yoga is all about being in the world, but not of it. It is not about external renunciation, but internal renunciation of desire. But if we are detached without any desire, why would we act at all? The true Karma Yogi is set beyond any selfish motive. He acts not for his gain, but for the welfare of the world, or, as the Gita puts it, loka sangraha. This is unconditional selfless action untainted by the ego. Krishna points out to Arjuna that even he himself has nothing to gain. He has no desires, but yet he acts, not for himself, but for the benefit of others. The ignorant individuals, deluded by their sense of I and mine, believe that they are acting. But a true karma yogi sees the reality, that all action takes place in the realm of nature, and the self, the Atman, is not touched by any of it. Desire is the obstacle to seeing this. It blinds our vision like smoke from a fire. Desire invades our senses, mind and the intellect. The goal is to master ourselves through yoga. But this knowledge is nothing new. Krishna states that this ancient science is being resurrected.
Sorry, before we go to that, chapter 3, I actually really like that one. I am more wanting to get the book now. I think I do have the book. I can't remember. I know I gotten a few books. I gotta go back and look at it. And if I don't have this one, I definitely gotta look it up, because that is, I like a lot of this actually, and I'm curious as to it being further explained in a deeper manner, because a lot of these things I do believe in, and I do like it quite a lot for some weird reason.
This knowledge is nothing new. Krishna states that this ancient science is being resurrected by him, but was originally taught to the sun deity Vivaswan and was passed down by different persons through the ages. At this point, Krishna famously declares why he is incarnated on earth. Whenever there is a decline in dharma, O Bharata, and whenever there is an increase in adharma, it is then that I manifest myself.
Whenever there's a decline in dharma or bharata, and whenever there is an increase in adharma, it is then that I manifest myself. Adharma, I remember Swami Tadatmananda, I believe is his name, saying that that's the opposite of dharma, right? The lack of action. Decline in dharma, which is the decline of action, and when there's an increase in inaction, then I manifest myself. What kind of action would be there lacking? Breathing alone is action, but I wonder what action is the cause of his manifestation.
This is the concept of avatar, that the ultimate personality, the supreme consciousness, descends to this material plane to destroy ignorance, to save and elevate earnest seekers. Having declared his divinity and the purpose of his descent, Krishna proceeds to really pin down the difference between karma and karma yoga. One who perceives inaction in action and action in inaction is intelligent amongst men. He is properly engaged and performs his duty.
Oh, I've heard Sadhguru say this one. One who perceives inaction in action. Sees inaction in action, and action and inaction is intelligent amongst men. One who perceives inaction in action, and action and inaction. I've heard that said once, again with Sadhguru. I remember him saying this. I don't remember if I got it that time, and I'm still kind of lost in that. Let's see what.
But what does Krishna really mean by this?
Yes, please, thank you.
Karma is action that produces consequences. Anybody who is identified with their mind and ego is bound and constantly creating both good and bad karma through their thoughts and intentions. But to the one who has no desire, no attachments, and has mastered his senses, even if he engages in action, taking on all kinds of responsibility, such a person commits no karma.
Inaction, inaction. Action without desires. Inaction, inaction. Inaction, no karma. Action without desires. Okay.
There are no consequences to his actions. Therefore, outwardly, he seems to engage in karma or action, but ultimately, akarma or inaction is what is actually happening. On the other hand, if an individual who is not free from desire and attachments does nothing outwardly or inaction, he is still creating karma or action through his thoughts, feelings, and state of consciousness. The subtle point being made is that inaction through avoiding our duty and role in life actively breeds consequences. In other words, our indifference and lack of intervention to situations which demand our attention will also give birth to future karmic results. This is particularly relevant to Arjuna, who is bent on running away from his duty. Krishna states to act without attachment to the results is yajna. Yajna is not just a fire ceremony, it is an inner process where one makes sacrifices for a higher ideal. In this sense, our yoga practice to gain mastery over the mind and senses is also a form of yajna. But what is the actual end result of this yajna? Krishna says that by detaching our attention from the world, by centering ourselves within, we receive jnana, or true realized knowledge of the Atman. It is this state of consciousness that actually burns up all karmic consequences. We are no longer a materially conditioned person, we are centered within.
Sorry, I'm gonna rewind that because I want to. No, because I gotta hear that again.
Yajna. But what is the actual end result of this yajna? Krishna says that by detaching our attention from the world, by centering ourselves within, we receive jnana, or true realized of this yajna. Krishna says that by detaching our attention from the world, by centering ourselves within, we receive jnana, or true realized knowledge of the Atman.
So basically, instead of focusing outwards, we focus inwards, and then we come to realization.
It is this state of consciousness that actually burns up all karmic consequences. We are no longer a materially conditioned person, we are centered within. Once you recognize the Atman within, you can see the Atman everywhere. This wisdom allows one to rise beyond any form of judgment and see the inherent unity that underpins all creation. The learned Pandit perceives the same reality within a Brahmin endowed with wisdom, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and one who eats dogs. The yogi
The learned Pandit perceives the same reality within a Brahmin, endowed with wisdom, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and one who eats dog.
realizes that it is the same divinity that sustains all life, and so there's no distinction of higher or lower. To become such a yogi, we have to be detached from material desires. Then one is ready to enter into deep contemplation of the divine. The goal of dhyana yoga, or meditation, is to still the incessant fluctuations of the mind to realize the truth. As Krishna states, by constantly engaging himself in this way, the yogin who controls his mind attains the state of tranquility, which culminates in nirvana, which actually rests upon me. Meditating in the correct way, the mind should be like a lamp in a windless place that never flickers. Such a state gives rise to the highest joy and supreme peace, free from any stain of suffering. But, as Arjuna says, the mind is more difficult to control than the wind. How is this even possible?
That looks like my mind right there. As a matter of fact, the past few days when I try to go to sleep, I've thought a lot about the few videos that I've watched for some odd reason.
In response, Krishna reiterates that consistent, repeated practice will yield results. However much the mind strays, we must repeatedly bring it back to the goal. Even if we do not achieve the goal in this life, nothing is lost. We will inevitably take birth in the right context and situation, which will allow us to further our practice towards the goal. In this way, Krishna makes clear that we are on a cosmic journey over many lives to attain the Supreme. But who is the Supreme? Krishna explains that among all spiritual aspirants, the yogi is the highest, and among the yogis, the one who is in contemplation of him is the highest of all. This last verse of chapter 6 sets the tone for the next 6 chapters, where Krishna dramatically shifts the line of discourse. Up until now, Krishna has spent most of his time on how one can go within and detach from the world. Now it is time for Krishna to explain and show that he himself is the Supreme Lord and the goal of all spiritual endeavour. Many thanks for listening.
Okay. Chapter 1, Arjuna's distress and refusal to fight. Chapter 2, the nature of Atman, Dharma, and introduction to Karma Yoga. Chapter 3, a life in action. Karma Yoga means acting for the welfare of the world. The Atman is beyond action. Chapter 4, Krishna as the avatar. What is inaction and action? Inner yagna, Karma Yoga, brings knowledge of Atman. Chapter 5, realized knowledge means seeing the Atman everywhere, unity in diversity. Chapter 6, controlling the mind and fixing it on a divine who is Krishna. I would say the chapter 3 was very interesting for me. The nature of Atman, Dharma, and tradition karma. Because that's something I think I definitely want to learn a bit more, because I talk about it, about what is it? A responsibility, or is it responsibility? I think it's responsibility. There's a couple of things you can do. The two things: either you can do something about it, or you can't do anything about it. If you can't do anything about it, then there's nothing to worry about. So it's mostly dealing with stress. If you can't do anything about it, then there's nothing to worry about. It's going to happen, and you can't stop it. Or if you can do something about it, then two things happen: either you do something about it, or you don't do anything about it. If you choose not to do anything about it, then you shouldn't worry, because you're choosing not to do something about it, but you'd still take responsibility for your action. Or you can do something about it, then you do it. But this one says, action, or sorry, chapter 4, what is inaction and action and action and inaction, which kind of ties into what I say. That's the reason why it's kind of really curious as to the thoughts in that, and how maybe I can refine my saying with that knowledge. And I'm not denying the fact that if you choose not to do something, that there's not consequences to it. My saying goes to the fact that you must accept the consequences of your inaction, because you chose not to do something about it. So anyways, that's my reaction to part 1 of 3 of Bhagavad Gita. Oh man, I will eventually get that correct. Bhagavad Gita. That's how I've heard it said, but it doesn't look like it. Bhagavad Gita. B-H-A-G Bhagavad Gita. I will get that right eventually. If you like my content, please consider subscribing, thumbs up, thumbs down, and down below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next vid.